I honestly think that our children are in trouble, very, very big trouble, because something very, very bad happened this evening as I was coming back from work. There was this woman, a black woman. Obviously, the woman's age I could guess. She was probably the same age with my mother. I knew she is old enough to be my grandmother, not even just a mother. So we were all in the very famous Red London bus. I was coming back from where I went to, and then out of nowhere, this woman just lashed out at the child of a white British woman who was talking very badly to her mother. By badly, I mean insulting, saying hurtful things to the mother, and the mother didn't even say a word. So this black woman sort of jumped in to defend the woman. She had to turn to the girl in question. I think she was probably 12 or 13, very young, to caution her to stop that. And guess what happened? The mother, who's been keeping quiet, left everything she was doing to face, totally start to lambast the black woman who was trying to defend her and to caution her child from using very bad swear languages over her mother, on her mother rather. So it was shocking. It was shocking. It now looked like the black woman the woman of color who interfered was the one who caused what was the problem, even though all she did was just to tell the child to please, I think you should watch your language. The way you speak to your mother, it's not very cordial and it's not respectful at all. So the mother accused the mother of the lady, or the small girl, accused the woman who came in to sort of mediate between the two. She accused her of being ridiculous, of being so peddlesome and all that. And it also gave the child who was already running her mouth even more power to lambast the woman for that. This little girl said to this woman of color who is very aged, shut up your mouth, it's not your business, stop putting your mouth in what doesn't concern you. Like, I felt sick to my stomach when I heard this. I felt so sick to my stomach. So I was just asking myself, I understand that here in abroad, here in diaspora, you know that in Africa, for example, there's a popular saying that says that when you give birth to a child, the responsibility to raise that child, it does not just rest on the shoulders of the parents, but it also rests on the shoulders of the public, the society as a whole. And as a result, when that child goes out, you see different people trying to correct the child. When the child does something bad, you see people trying to tell the child, this is not the way to do, this is not the way to. And at the end of the day, there is societal impact in raising a child in Africa, and that usually helps children to become well-rounded in terms of upbringing. Because let's face it, no matter how versatile a parent is, there are no parents in this world that knows everything. There are no parents in this world that has every knowledge. So there is a need that the society sort of comes in to help, and that is the way it works in Africa. and I'm a product of that type of structure. I'm a product of such nurturing environment. And oftentimes societal inclusion or societal assistance in child upbringing isn't always as maybe friendly, or I don't know the best word to use for it, pampering, as that of the family. For example, you can see a child who came from a family where he or she was used to being pampered. The society where I grew up in, they ain't gonna pamper you. If you do something wrong, they will call you out and they are going to hold you accountable. And that is how we grew up. But unfortunately here and in so many other Western countries, it does not apply. It really does not apply. And I think it's not mentioned enough that it seems like I don't have a child here yet, but from what I've read and from what I've seen, it seems like from the moment a parent gives birth to a child, literally you have a parental responsibility over that child, but then your power to also enforce that responsibility is already diminishing speedily. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, yes, it's your responsibility to look after the child. It's your responsibility to provide the basic things that the child needs and everything. And it's also your responsibility to discipline that child, because disciplining a child is part of raising a child. Yeah, it doesn't just end with providing the child with everything they need. You also have a responsibility as a parent to discipline them when they get it wrong. Otherwise, they will believe that this is right and they will grow up becoming a menace to the society. So, but that is where it gets tricky, the disciplinary aspects. Parents have very little power to discipline their child in Western societies, and that is bad. That is a sign of disaster that is probably incoming in the future. Yeah, because there's a place in Proverbs, I think Proverbs 13:24 or something, I'm not sure. It says, if you love your son, you don't spare your rod on a child that you love, on your son that you love. If you love your son, discipline should be part of raising that child up. Why? Because naturally, mischief is part of growth. There is a stage where a child will be in, the only thing that makes sense to them is being mischievous. That is just children being children. So nobody's saying you should stop them from being children, but you can correct them. This is when the correctional aspect of upbringing comes in, and this is where discipline could actually come in. And the problem here is, in terms of disciplining your child, I think parents are severely handicapped, and it is a problem. It is a problem because that is why, look at the products of children that is being produced in this dispensation. Some of them being in gang violence, doing a lot of horrible things. There's an increase, a proportional increase in terms of crime rates and the level at which parental disciplinary abilities are deteriorating. There's a connection between that. The more parents are handicapped, the more they are unable to enforce discipline, commensurate discipline on their children, the more they keep producing children who, like I said earlier, we keep becoming menaces to the society. They will keep causing trouble. They will keep being antisocial. They will keep, representing every of the social vices that you do not want them to represent. And that is because their stage of mischief was not properly managed. I think, with all due respect, when a child is in that stage of mischievousness, when the only thing they know is mischief, it needs to be managed. And the best way to manage that is through disciplining that child. And that is where it gets tricky in this country. You cannot hit your child, you cannot flog your child. There is barely anything you can do as a parent and it will be termed reasonable. Anything you do most likely will be termed as abuse of power, abuse of parental power, or they will look for one English and attach to it, and before you know it, social services will take that child from you. So it's a problem. It's a problem. I'm not saying I'm a perfect person, but I'm a product of a system where parental upbringing, there was a belief in parental upbringing that discipline was a core part of raising a child. I know so many times I was smart by my parents. I know so many times they did take very drastic measures that if you should try that now as a parent, you will be in trouble. But guess what? I'm thankful, because if not because of that, I would have been a vagabond. I wouldn't be anywhere near the type of man God is molding me to be. So there's a correlation between not being able to discipline a child and ending up raising a child that will end up becoming the type of child you do not, or the type of man or woman that you do not ever want that person to become. And it is a problem. That is why I think that the future is seriously scary. Especially, I'm not yet married, but obviously I hope someday at some point to give birth to a child, and it's something that bothers me, because I know that most likely my child is gonna be in that stage a stage of mischief, where I will need to manage that mischief. And when I think of how am I going to be able to discipline that child when they begin to misbehave, I mean, it gets very tiring, because from what I can see, from what I've read, I think it's fair to say that parents are severely handicapped, and it is not helping. It is not helping. It is not helping at all. What they will usually tell you here is, hey, sit with the child, have a chat with the child, talk with the child. But who are we kidding here? Honestly, who are we really kidding here? What kind of chat are you going to be having with an 8-7-year-old child? Take a moment to reflect on that. What kind of chat? There is a developmental stage that when a child is in, I think having conversations with them really will not make sense. Let's just be honest. Yes, because that is why, I mean, before you can have a conversation with someone, it's also important to put so many things into context. How can this person really understand what I'm trying to say? Can they think about it? Can they assimilate it? Can they dissect and dissect what I'm saying? Are they able to separate good or bad from what I'm saying? What are they going to make out of what I'm saying? It's not just about having a conversation. So that is why in Africa, the way it usually works is parents usually enforce discipline in so many ways. And let me also just place a caveat here. I am not advocating for child abuse. I'm not advocating for excessive use of force or excessive abuse of parental responsibility, or excessive, because there is still a thin line between disciplining a child and abusing a child. Everything still has to be in moderation. I don't believe because of disciplining a child you have to go overboard or drastic. There should still be a balance. I'm only against a total lack of discipline, because the system, unfortunately, it's not allowing much to be done. So what I was trying to explain before is that the way it works in Africa is basically, as a child growing up, there are stages where you'll be flogged, you'll be whipped, you'll be punished, you'll be deprived of some things that usually make you happy, just to remind you that this is a punishment for what you did wrong, and to also imbibe that value, that sense of accountability, knowing that I can't just do this and go scot-free. Actions have consequences. I do this and I'm going to face the consequence. That's basically what they do, basically where I grew up in. Yeah, because by doing that, you're just putting it on the head of that child that it is not okay to bully another child. It is not okay to do this, because whenever you do that, apart from that thing being bad, there are going to be consequences, and usually you will pay the price of doing that. So better not do that if you don't want to face the consequence. And then when that child now gets to a certain stage, probably let's say from 16, 17, 18, and you are seeing that their level of reasoning, their level of maturity, their mentality, everything is beginning to improve. I think this is when it would be right to actually be able to sit down and have a chat with your child. This is when they can understand. Because when a child is 5, when a child is 10, when a child is 11, in most cases, the best languages they understand is that enforcement of appropriate parental discipline. Action, consequences, accountability, enforcing it. It has to be enforced because it is a stage. It's a stage that the only thing that child knows to do or thinks about is just being mischievous. So the child is being mischievous at that stage because the child's mischief at that stage is a call for correction, is a call for management. That's why it's a very tricky stage. If that is not managed well, it will probably become too late if they take that up and they grow up with it. It becomes part of their values and the way they think, and then they could grow up to become even worse, criminals, robbers or something. So I honestly think it's not right to ask a parent to sit down and be having a child with his 5, 6, 7, 10, 11-year, 12-year-old child. That is as ridiculous as the word ridiculous gets. That really is it, because it's not realistic. It's not sensible, because when a child is in that mischievous state, you say, "Hey, Junior, don't do this. If you do this, this is what will happen to you." Junior will go ahead to do it, not because Junior wants to know what will happen to him, but because Junior does not fully understand at that stage what it means for actions to have consequences. Junior will do it, and then you come back, instead of you making Junior to pay by actually enforcing discipline, showing that child, okay, you've done it, it's time to pay the price of your stupidity or mischief. You will come again to have another chat with him. Junior, I told you not to do this. That if you do this, this will happen. I'm warning you again, don't do this, this will happen. What do you think will happen? The child will take you as a fool, as someone who doesn't know what they are doing, obviously. Because they are at that stage where talking is not making so much sense. So my parents, the parents of the generation I grew up in, they were not stupid for doing the right thing, which was enforcing appropriate discipline. Yes, because that was the only language at our mischievous stages that we could understand. So most children in mischievous stages do not understand any other languages apart from the language of what? Enforcement of that discipline. Yeah. So and that is why what happened today happened. That child was probably used to talking to the parents anyhow. The child was probably used to talking back at her mother, and then there's nothing there. That's why she had the effrontery to do that even in a public setting, and also the effrontery to even do that to a woman who is old enough to be her great-grandmother, with all due respect. And that's a product of what she learned from home, because parents are used to just talking and not enforcing discipline because of the way the system is, not because they don't want to. The child now in her head or in his head, hey, it's okay, I can talk to my mother anyhow, nothing's gonna happen. Just imagine that for a second. In African setting, a little girl of 12, 13 looking at a very aged woman and saying to her, "Shut up and stop talking, stop putting your stinking mouth in my business." The thought of that alone is scary, let alone someone now doing it. Do you wanna be buried alive or something? But here, it's a norm, and it's a problem. It's a big problem. I felt sick to my stomach. I felt sorry for the woman, because she probably just could not stand watching a child insult her mother the way. And now look at the irresponsible woman she was even trying to defend, joined her irresponsible child to attack an innocent woman who was just trying to caution people. So to caution her child from, her mistake, So let me also just add this quickly before I close this video, before I end this video rather. Please, I'm begging especially our foreign or African brothers and sisters in diaspora, you all need to understand that cultural differences are real. Cultural difference is real. It's quite real. That's also what happened in that situation. Though here, parents also want to feel adequate. So there was also a chance that the reason why the mother joined, because we have to be objective in every situation at the end of the day. So there's also a chance, or there was a chance that the reason why the mother of the child joined her child to insult the woman who tried to come in between her and her daughter was because she felt inadequate. More like, are you trying to correct my child in my presence? What are you trying to say? That you're a better parent than me? This is an opportunity to show you that you're not a better parent than me. So there is more emphasis on who's the better parent than making sure that my child does what is right and keeps doing what is right. That's cultural differences. In Africa, when a child misbehaves in Africa and another parent punishes that child, you will see then even you as the child that was punished, you will not want to report yourself to your mother or to your father. Because in most cases, when you do, your mother or your father will go to the house of that woman or man who punished you and give them a very good handshake. Thank you very much for helping to raise my child. Because of our mindset, because of the way it is in our own culture. But here, it is not like that. Parents easily feel inadequate. So my advice is leave them and their culture. If you're working anywhere and you experience anything like that, it's better you just mind your business. It's painful. I felt sick to my stomach and I felt like I should have even added my own 2 cents, but I'm like, this is a systemic issue. It's a serious systemic issue that worries me, or that worries me a lot. So we need to understand that cultural difference is real and we have to respect that. It's different. Here, the society does not have that much influence in terms of playing a part in raising a child like it is back home. So they are already used to having their children misbehaving because this is the way the system has made it to look like. This is the result of a system that gives so much power to children, so much freedom to children who are very immature to even know what that freedom means, let alone to appreciate what that freedom actually requires of them. That is the result of that. So let's not try to bring in our own way of doing things, the African way, into stuff or in situations like that. When you see situations like that, I will kindly advise just stay out of it. But that notwithstanding, I really worry for the upcoming generation, and I think I've read somewhere that Nigeria and some other countries are beginning to learn that level of rubbish. I think these days you no longer even flog children in Nigerian schools or something. How stupid. Are we going to learn everything from the Westerners? Are we? Why not we continue doing what have been working for us? Why must we always copy everything from them? They that started that, how has it worked out for them? There are some deeper issues that this has resulted to that I will not want to go into, so that I don't get even banned from YouTube. Yeah, there are some deeper consequences of this situation I've analyzed that I would have loved to go into, but for certain reasons, today is not the day to do that. So the only thing I would say is, let's continue to respect the culture of the people we stay in their place, and let's continue to pray and ask God for wisdom on how to do this. Maybe one way to do that might be consider sending your child to Africa. Yeah, to to have their brains and their mentality reset in the way it should be. That's one way of doing that. So, and I'm talking also to my unborn child. If you ever say this, you better behave yourself, because one way or the other, by hook or crook, you must become responsible. If not here, all of us will go back to Africa, and I will go there and raise you. We'll come back here, and you will be an example to others, and not become a part of a very, very, very weak-minded system, with all due respect. That is where I want to wrap it up today. Tell me what you think. Thank you so much for your time. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. My name is Chibuzo. Until next time.